Hello and welcome! Silrace here with some Hearthstone action, and this is finally the random arena drafts gameplay. Entirely finished, and all of it is in this one video. I thought about cutting it into smaller and shorter pieces, then I decided against it. You'll have all of it in one nice long video. If you want to see how I drafted this deck, this is an entirely randomly drafted deck. There will be a link in the description below, as well as an annotation at the end of the video to take you there to watch the draft. And I will be drafting a new one soon. And I did just play an Argent Squire into a, mana worm on purpose, because at least it wastes the next turn of the mage by fire blasting and then smacking it dead. So, unfortunately, I've been a little busy doing all sorts of things, both real life as well as, covering other games. So, I haven't finished this. It took a while longer than intended to finish this whole run, but such is life. This thing got finally finished, and it is finally coming out for you folks to enjoy. Now, I lost some of my original commentary on this first game, which is why I am redoing this whole thing as a post-play commentary. And here I was debating coining the Dark Iron Dwarf on the board, but then decide against it and play the Youthful Brewmaster instead. Probably should play Hungry Crab first, that is what I was thinking. Because I don't know what that secret is. And it turns out I should have played the Hungry Crab first because of Mirror Entity. However, I was still hoping that, since this is Arena, that there might be a random, Murloc on the board for Hungry Crab to eat. Well, there was a Swamp Ooze. Now, obviously, can't tell if it has a second Ooze or not. So let's take the risk, because sometimes you have to take the risk. So, coin into an Arcanite Reaper and kill the 4-3. If it has a second Ooze, then yeah, I'm boned anyway once I pull it out. But at least I got rid of the 4-3. Now the Mage, unfortunately, has the second Ooze, and that means I lose the rest of my Reaper. And now there are multiple creatures on the board and another secret. And I make a massive mistake there of playing creatures in wrong order. Because it's second Mirror Entity. I did not at all expect that, and I should have. Because I knew I would play the Hungry Crab anyway. So I should always have played that first. My mistake. I should have conceded the game at this point because of that mistake. There is not much else I can do with the, current board I have. Especially since I have done no damage whatsoever for the, to the Mage. And I'm getting pretty much all of my, bad draws right here. With the Secret Keeper, with the Core Hound. I don't exactly have anything to answer for this stuff. So, unfortunately, we are going to be losing this first game ever with this particular deck. That's pretty much unavoidable. It is a mage, it is a little wonky to play against, and especially with the kind of pulls I had and a couple pretty badly done mistakes by my part. So, let's move on to the next game. Okay, and we are in to the next game against a druid this time around. For the more arena action, and this doesn't look overly bad, but this deck has a lot of 1s and 2s in it. So I dropped a couple of them hoping to get some of the 1s and 2s and at least get the turn 1 play in the Secret Keeper, which frankly is absolutely terrible for this deck, but since I randomized every single card I was pulling, couldn't do overly much about that, eh? And get another turn 1 play, but decide to hold on to the Hungry Crab for the moment. Since I have turn 1 and turn 2 plays, I can hope for a Murloc again. That is basically the thought process here, because it is, after all, Arena. So, at least we get some value out of the turn 1 and 2 plays here. which is quite nice. Druids tend to veer more towards late game anyway, so I'm hoping to be able to knock the druid down rather quickly from the start, and this is a perfect draw here. For an infiltrator to have, you know, efficient mana use for the turn. Now obviously, next turn will be wipe, possible swipe, you know? So I have to get as much damage out as possible during my next turn, my turn 4, because his turn 4 could be a swipe, and because he has coin, the swipe could have come on this turn as well. That is a, you know, something I was thinking of, but I had 2 creatures with 2 health on the board. So, there was obviously that thing. And no, cannot play Stranglethorn Tiger, and was holding on the Corcoran Elite for something more important. Because I want to use that for, as a removal, essentially, because I have nothing else in hand which can simply deal with a occasional random taunt or something. And with 3 life only on the Corcoran Elite, it doesn't necessarily do its job so well. And this is a good example of a situation where Corcoran Elite does really well. Kills a creature and even stays alive after it. Obviously lost Direwolf Alpha, that was going to be inevitable anyway, so get around to smacking the druid, and we have... Well, the druid has a lot of cards, and I've burned through quite a few cards myself by now, so... Thankfully, this allows getting rid of a dude here. Execute away the Druid of the Claw. Commence smacking, and then we can do this sort of a funky little play here. Get the damaged Corcoran Elite back into hand and armor up. I still don't drop the Hungry Crab. At this point I probably should have finally dropped the Hungry Crab. But I want to keep the enemy also guessing a little of what I have in hand, and the Hungry Crab really doesn't make that big of a difference in all honesty. Now that is a cute bit of a play, but thanks to the Corcoran Elite it is rather meaningless play, because I can get rid of it rather easily. Now though, if I had the Hungry Crab in play, I would have another creature to deal damage with. So I finally played as well, and we have the Druid down nicely to 5 health. So turn 7 abounds. Turn 7, turn 8 start to be the annoying turns against the Druid. Start seeing things like Ancient of Lore, Ancient of War, and then Ironbark Protectors and other funkiness, which absolutely puts a showstopper on this deck. This deck simply doesn't, well, if I evaluate this deck some more and whatnot, this doesn't deal late game quite so well, because it has a lot of early game play. And I am quite curious why he decided to kill the 1-2 instead of the 2-1 at this stage. So that was quite interesting play, in my honest opinion, by him, and that draw helps me none. Brawl is a good card, and I have only one in this particular arena draft deck, but it just does not deal anything, well, helpful in this particular situation. So we are moving on with the game, so to say. There is a Swamp Ooze, that is nice. So if I manage to pull my weapon, well then there is a Swamp Ooze I don't have to deal with. And that, I have to say, is a little annoyance. Thankfully, draw helps me out. I managed to grab a Shield Slam. So that means we can at least get rid of some of these taunters here. Let's remove the ooze, right? And then simply kill that thing, armor up some more and deal more damage. Because the druid is down to 5 health right now, and I'm hoping to pull Arcanite Reaper and simply end the game right here. That is the hope. The deck has an Arcanite Reaper after all. Now I'm going to obviously lose my 5-1, that was inevitable. But I still have the 2 damage creature on the board unless he decides to smack it dead and take a little bit more damage to the face. I have no plays though. I have absolutely no plays other than simply armoring up. Which is a little unfortunate. And there is a frost element of the freeze me even if I pulled the weapon I couldn't deal the you know, in this case the 4 damage I needed. So we pull a Raging Bogan, so let's play that. Not much else can do, huh? Brawl useless when there is only 1 enemy minion on the field. And with this amount of health and armor, there is no way I can play Molten Giant either. So the game is dragging on quite a bit, and I'm like, you know, I'm running out of steam. He has 4 cards, I have 2, he has a creature on board, I don't. I'm a little worried, to be honest, especially when something like that comes on the board as well. I'm trying to hold on to the Brawl though, until there is at least 3 creatures on the board. I could Brawl right about now, simply because I pulled a Fairy Dragon. But let's play the Fairy Dragon and see if he has removal for it, because the Fairy Dragon cannot be, you know, it cannot be wrathed or anything of the sort. So he has to hit it with something. Claw could do it, or another thing, something like that. And that also works. Gets to kill the Fairy and then whack me, but at least the Fairy absorbed a hit from the Thermal Force here, so it's now down to 1 health. Hoping for the 3rd creature to play Brawl on, you know? Because that would make sense. I don't really want to burn it on 2 creatures, but I will now as they have been buffed up. So, but with that pull, let's actually put that on the board. Because it can kill at least 1 of those creatures off. And I still have enough armor to, you know, and health to at least survive for this turn. So there is a removal, Starfire, unfortunate. You happen to have that in hand. So it gets to whack me with all of those thingamajigs, all the creatures he happens to have in hand. Or rather on board, not in hand. And even with the shapeshift too. Get Heroic Strike, okay, that works. I can get rid of the things, but I decided to Brawl instead and Heroic Strike after to get rid of everything, you know? Because this is the order you want to do stuff in. And lower my health amount and then armor up so that I can play the Molten Giant. Because had I first maxed it and then brawled, there would still be a creature on the board, as you can probably tell, you know, but then this stuff starts happening. So finally he's pulling in the big nasty creatures I was afraid of like a couple minutes ago, a while ago already. But at least we have a nice 10 mana play with both of those, but let's see. Because I don't want to throw out the Darkscale Healer and have the Iron Bark trade for the healer and then trade also for the damn Molten Giant. Because that would be annoying. But that is even more annoying, and now the game is pretty much lost by me. There is no way this deck anyway deals with any of this stuff anymore. And like I said, this deck just doesn't do that well against the Druid, and there is a Fiery War Axe, which doesn't help, so I didn't get my Arcanite Reaper, even when I wanted it, and there is no way I can get enough health and armor to actually survive. So let's smack that and let him kill me, because it doesn't freaking matter. Unfortunately though, it was a lost game. But you can't always win. The annoying thing is here is that he keeps wasting my time with all this shenanigans. I'm like just scratching my head. Okay, I should probably just hit that. But there is Arcanite Reaper I should have gotten. I was hoping to get a while ago. So let's move on to the next game. So we are on the third game for the random arena warrior deck, and so far it's looking pretty bad. Had I gotten a better draw in that, well, top decking away in that previous game. I could have won that, but not my luck that time around. Now this is pretty good opening hand against a warrior, I'll take it. Especially the hungry crab, I like to hold on to that thing for a bit because this is arena. There is going to be some occasional random murloc appearing. So, opponent still taking time to look through things, and also youthful brewmaster is kinda nice in combination with hungry crab, so you can eat more murlocs if you really feel inclined to eating lots of them for some reason. It can be absolute hilarity. I have done it once already before, where it's turn 3 remove, basically turn 2 use hungry crab to eat a murloc, turn 3 bounce it back and play it again to eat another murloc. It can be fun, let's put it that way. So it is a warrior versus warrior matchup, and as usual I do my basic things I do in these games. Oh, and I got my turn 1 play again. Secret Keeper. I'll play that. I have no secrets anyways. But as I was about to mention, the stuff I do. Say greetings in the beginning and well played in the end, and that is all the talking I will do in these matches. Why? Well, you'll find out eventually, I hope. Okay, Armorsmith. We don't want to hit that, right? Because we don't want to give him more armor. So let's play Fairy Dragon, because that makes sense to play, and just deal some damage to the warrior. Pulled the Raging Worgen, which is nice. Now I have turn 3 play as well. Oh, but even better, there is that random murloc. So, can eat the random murloc. And even have the 1/1 to deal something, you know, with the other 1/1 creature left. Because obviously the Fairy Dragon kills off the Armorsmith. There is no way around that, well, that thing is going to have to die. Now comes the big question though, should I have played, for example, Youthful Brewmaster and pulled the Fairy Dragon back in hand? That could have been a good play. Decided to armor up instead. Thankfully, the opponent has no play either and just armors up with the shield block. Card draw and stuff. Dalaran Mage, this deck has no spells, but I happen to have those anyway, all these spell power creatures anyway, thanks to the random draft. So there is that sort of a little bit of annoyance and so on. But hey, I make do with what I have, or at least try to. And so far I have been on the losing end of the stake. 4/4 and 2/2, and I have Heroic Strike in hand. This is some easy play here to make. Heroic Strike, armor up, kill 4/4. Probably should have armored up after killing it, because that would allow faster play for the Molten Giant. Something to consider, but I don't have Molten Giant in hand and I wouldn't have been too much below the 30 life anyways. Not a fully efficient use of mana. I have had 1 left after a turn, still have the coin in hand, could have coined for example the Youthful Brewmaster again, but so far no. Frothing Basaka and Earthring Forcer. 2 pretty good creatures, only issue is that I can deal with both of them, which is unfortunate for the opponent. And here I trade the 1 health instead of the 2 health, simply because if there is a whirlwind, I rather have the 2 health creature on the board, so that because the whirlwind kills the 1 health creature. And warriors are known to occasionally draft whirlwind when there is no better play available. Corcron Elite, that gets rid of the most damage, really good. Cruise Missile to get something out of the way. And there is a protection for the Panther and the Worgen, so we will absolutely use that. And then armor up and keep the Youthful Brewmaster in hand. Why? Because of a stealth creature. I have the nice 5/5 on the board and it has stealth and stuff. And now it doesn't, obviously. But I can bounce it back into hand. And then pull it back. And that was extremely lucky for me. So now I have, unless he can clear it, now I have Enraged Worgen. And he pulls out an upgrade, but you cannot hit that because you need to kill the taunt first. So unfortunate for him, fortunate for me, because now I get 3-8 damage to do with the Worgen. And get to attack with a bunch of other things too. Armor up, just because don't have, you know, don't have a need to play a lot of other things. Considered playing Heroic Strike there. I could have bounced back, for example, the Worgen from the board. But there is just no real need to. He's down to 6 life. And I'll rather hold on to the creatures I have. And there was an unlucky little thing. Because could have killed the Worgen. Didn't happen. And he gives my Worgen a +3/+3, he knows he's going to lose anyways. So, kills my taunt though, and that is the end of that particular game. And we are finally victorious with the Worgen going Balzac on things. So by now we are 1-2. 1 win, 2 losses, and we are playing against Priest. Now this can be absolutely horrible matchup to begin with for the warrior, depending on the kind of warrior deck. And this isn't optimized deck by any means. So I am quite expecting either a very late game win here or a very late game loss. Because, well, Priest is really good at dragging games out thanks to being able to heal things. Anyway, got a really good early game play with the Worgen Infiltrator. Unfortunately, it doesn't, you know, quite do so good against that particular thing. So let's play Hungry Crab, smack the Priest. Probably, let's say, I was debating whether to smack the Priest and reveal the Hungry Crab, or whether to simply wait for next turn and make sure that we can kill the freaking Cleric. The nice thing is that the Priest really messes up here. Wants to kill the Crab too, and does not heal the Cleric for a card draw. Probably should have healed the Cleric for the card draw, in all honesty. But there is the coin into heal, so that burns coin, and that means there is removal gone from the Priest as well. I pull a Brawl, which doesn't help, considering whether to play the Dalaran Mage or not because of its one attack. The Priest can get another card draw by hitting the Dalaran Mage and then healing the Northshire Cleric again. But plays Thoughtsteal instead, and now the Northshire Cleric is dead. Why? Because of Dark Iron Dwarf, which was the thought process behind the Dalaran Mage play anyway. So have this attack buff and now get rid of the damn Northshire Cleric, because those are annoying in the very early stages of the game. When you don't get lucky and don't have something like, you know, Fiery War Axe in hand to simply kill it on turn 2. And my hand in general doesn't look overly crazy good. Well, thankfully he managed to steal my Shield Slam, that doesn't do you much good. But I do have turn 5 play with the Darkscale Healer, so let us do that. And then start smacking the Priest down a little at least. So we have a pretty good board. We are obviously down in cards by a massive margin. The Priest has 9 cards in hand. But we have creatures on the board, Priest does not. So that has to count for something. And excuse me, I was drinking something, so yeah. Don't want to lose my voice while talking. So there is Shadow Word Pain, gets rid of at least 1 creature on the board. That is quite fine, we can live with that. So what else do you have for 3 mana, Mr. Priest? And Fiery War Axe. Why couldn't you give me my Fiery War Axe for change, huh? Okay, so just max me with a Fiery War Axe, and I have 8 damage on the board to deal, which is quite nice. And there is a something to protect the 8 damage too, which is even more awesome. And have Heroic Strike for removal too, as well as a Brawl. Molten Giant, not Mountain Giant. Molten Giant is going to be a little tricky to play with this. You know, health and armor values I am at. So, Pint-sized Summoner, a little wonky creature, to be honest. At least I can get rid of it, so that is good. However, we are in the territory past, you know, 5 mana. Now, because of getting those creatures on the board, I am making these debates in my mind at this point. Do I take the risk? Do I try to clear the board? Because if I clear the board, my creatures take enough damage that Holy Nova clears the board entirely. But first let's get rid of the thing which gives them attack, right? Because that obviously needs to die first in order for my creatures to survive. And I decide to go for it. It's like, okay, I had many creatures already on board before. It probably would have used Holy Nova. Right? Did he just pull Holy Nova? That is the big question. Turns out he had Holy Nova in hand for quite a while. And unfortunately for me, that is a play which I have no answer to. But hey, I can at least delay the Fairy Dragon for a turn, because it doesn't smack the alarm, but I get my Molten Giant. But the fact is, that play probably lost me the game, right then and there. I knew it when it happened. I was debating in my mind, do I risk the goddamn Holy Nova? But the problem is, if I hadn't cleared the board, he could have cleared mine the following turn, with Holy Nova and all those attacks. So that's 3 creatures, so Brawl is a really good bet. And then unfortunately gets with the Harpy, so we are going to smack the Harpy. But don't have the mana to execute it. That is unfortunate, but it means we are going to lose some life next turn. And unless he has some bigger sort of a heal, well, you know, we can simply execute it next turn anyway. Going to lose some health, that means Molten Giant is playable, but the Demolisher isn't. So let's smack that, then play the damn Demolisher and get some armor. Yeah, let's play Demolisher and kill the 2-2. So we know where the damage from the Demolisher goes, and then there is no random questing adventurer sitting around. Could have played Molten Giant, and it might have been the correct play, but I don't know if it was or wasn't, because of this thing. It is, after all, 10 mana for the priest. That means mind control is a possibility even in the arena. And thank God the priest used mind control on that, so there is no Molten Giant on the board. Though I am still getting beat by my own, you know, Demolisher now. But thankfully it hit me and not the giant. But then there is priest removal all over the place, because priests are really good at that. So yeah, and the board is flooded with creatures, and only card in my hand is a Strangleton Tiger, which is going to die as soon as I reveal it. But that Demolisher needs to die. That is simply not debatable. Unfortunately for me though, the Demolisher gets really lucky and lands the 1 in 3 shot on the correct damn target. So yeah, there is that as well working against me. But I have my Tiger, I can get rid of the Demolisher next turn, so that at least takes a little bit of damage off the board. 3 every turn, essentially. So, yeah. And the priest keeps getting heals up, and this is what I mentioned earlier on. The priest is really good at, you know, delaying games, dragging them out. And then we can do the whole panda into tiger, into, you know, new tiger thing. That sort of stuff. Kill Demolisher, panda the tiger, play tiger again, and it's again in stealth. So now I can choose its target again, unless something really wonky happens. Which probably isn't coming from a priest. Shadow Word Pain gets rid of the panda. So that means I again have only one creature on the board, and yeah. Part reason of the, you know, arena being kind of hilarious at times is the way that there is just lots of possibilities of having 5 million different cards or high diffs of the same cards in certain decks, so you can't simply count, okay, now he has used both of the Shadow Word Pains and Shadow Word Deaths and whatnot. But at least, so far I haven't seen a second mind control, which is pretty damn nice. And yeah, well, silencing a Secret Keeper, I don't have secrets anyway, so that doesn't exactly help overly much. Unfortunately, the priest is way ahead of me, and there is not much I can do, especially since Heroic Strike just doesn't help. Let's kill that thing, but even then there is still 4 damage on the board, and if the priest pulls something nasty, we are kind of dead. Don't think could win that. Actually, like I said before, I was fairly sure of the loss the moment I lost my entire board to that Holy Nova. Afterwards there wasn't overly much to do. Thankfully the bomber at least works for me. I must have bribed it in a previous life or something. Between the games. Something like that. So, yeah, Corcron Elite. Yeah, let's play that. Let's kill his biggest threat on the board. So, at least that lower damage amount just a little. But we are still working from way behind, in all honesty. And I was like checking, how many cards do I have and how many cards does he have? Like, can I make this work out for me if he like goes into fatigue? But with this amount of damage now on board, let's find out what my last draw is. And it is a Raging Worgen. So well played, your win. And so comes to an end the first run for the first random arena draft. Now, it wasn't very successful. I won 1 game out of 4. But I had hilarious time drafting it and I had fun playing it, so I'm definitely going to do another one pretty soon, so stay tuned for the next one. Thank you very much for watching.